Hello friends, and welcome to another set in this 12-hour extravaganza. Reggie Harris here, and I'm gonna sing for a half an hour in tribute to Toshi Seeger. Happy Mother's Day to you all. Big shout out to Matt Turk, who followed me in this set. All the best to you, Matt. Well, come gather around people wherever they roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, say better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changing. Oh, sing that with me. From writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, this chance won't come again. Oh, but don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin, and there's no telling who that it's naming. For the losers now will be later to win, for the times they are a-changing. Come senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall, for the ones who get hurt will be fools who have stalled. There's a battle outside and it's raging. It'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are a-changing. Oh, the times they are a-changing. Oh, mothers and fathers, welcome mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your world is rapidly fading. Get out of the new one if you can't lend a hand, 'cause the times they are a-changing. Oh, the times they are a-changing. Oh, the line it is drawn, the curse it is cast. Slow ones now will later be fast, and the present now, well, it's soon to be past. Hallelujah. This old world is rapidly fading. The first ones now will later be last, for the times they are a-changing. Now if you think this battle for justice is done, that the fight against hatred is already won, well then open your eyes, 'cause it's only begun. It's a battle that's still worth the waging, and we'll never be free till we arise as one, 'cause the times they are a-changing. Oh, the times they are a-changing. Oh, the times they are a-changing. Oh, yes indeed. The times they are a-changing, and they're going to change further because we've got an election coming up in November, and we are going to make a difference. We are going to make a change. We're gonna get our country back to a place where justice and equality really matter. We're gonna get our country back to where compassion matters, where environmental concerns matter. We're gonna get our country back where laws actually matter. Here we stand in the middle of a great divide. It's time to deliver, but we're taking sides. And those who might lead us have too much to hide. So the world is on fire again. There was a man who once told us of a way we could be in a time of great sorrow and hatred ran free. If our better angels could guide us, said he, think of what good might be done. If we would stand up, we'll get through the night. We'll find some answers, we'll make it right. Justice will flow down, freedom will ring. Think of the good it will bring when we let our angels sing. Oh, 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 angels sing. There are voices that cry out from deep in the soul. They've been there forever, they never grow old. They're hopeful and quiet, but we'll never hear them speak. We were shattered by fear. So let's stand in the middle, but what can we say? Start with compassion and keep it in play. Think it all over and we'll find a way to do what we know must be done. We got to stand up to get through the night. We'll find some answers, we'll make it right. Justice will flow down, freedom will ring. Think of the good it will bring when we let our angels sing. Now we can spend our time just fussing about the politics. Keep our heads in the sand. Don't see the sign, the future's on the line. We gotta work as fast as we can. In November, we got to stand up to get through the night. We'll find some answers, we'll make it right. Justice will flow down, freedom will ring. Think of the good it will bring if we just stand up to get through the night. We'll find some answers, we'll make it right. Justice will flow down, freedom will ring. Think of the good it will bring when we let our angels sing. Oh, we got to stand up. Oh, we got to stand up. Oh, we got to stand up and let our angels sing. Whoa, 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 yeah. Oh, it's so good to be with you today and to be celebrating Mother's Day in such an amazing way. And to be celebrating the mother of Clearwater, really. Toshi Seeger, who was one of the other halves of one of the most dynamic duos this country has ever seen. And I have so many great memories of Toshi, as I'm sure all of you do as well. And I remember just her amazing spirit and drive. And I remember the first time that I actually talked to Toshi Seeger. I'd been sending cassette tapes in to ask if Kim and I could play at the Clearwater Revival. And you know, I didn't hear anything back from her, you know, for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. And then we went on Pumpkin Sale. You all remember Pumpkin Sale? Mm-hmm. Sailing up, sailing down, sailing on the river. Passing out pumpkins along the way. I'm going to sing one of the first songs in a minute that I actually learned on Pumpkin Sale. But it was a Friday afternoon, as I remember, and I was preparing for the weekend, actually. We didn't have any gigs and we weren't touring. And so I'd kind of put my brain away for, you know, trying to get work or anything. And I remember that the phone rang and I went to pick it up. And when I picked up the phone, the voice on the other end, after I said hello, said, "Reggie Harris, Toshi Seeger here. And I went, oh my goodness, it's Toshi Seeger. I mean, I'd heard lots of stories about how direct Toshi could be. And she said, I understand that you are interested in playing the revival. And I said, yes, I am. She said, well, I hear that you did a good job on Pumpkin Sale, and I'd like to offer you a spot at Revival. I don't remember what joke I made in the moment, but I said something to her that was supposed to be funny, and she literally said, ha, ha. And then she said, okay, I have a place for you. I'll call you later. And that was it. And before I knew it, well, we were booked at Revival that first time. But before that, we did go on Pumpkin Sale, and we sailed down from Albany, New York, getting off of the boat in Rhinebeck. And I remember that on that first journey, I learned a song, a sea shanty. I think Rico must have taught it to us, Rick Nestler. But whoever taught it to me, it's been a song that I've loved to sing, and you can sing it with me. It says, roll the old chariot along, we'll roll the old chariot along. We'll roll the old chariot along, and we'll all fall in behind. We used to sing this as we would raise the sail, which was quite a chore, pulling that sail up, with a crew and about 30 kids on any given day. And then we'll roll the old chariot along, we'll roll the old chariot along, we'll roll the old chariot along, and we'll all fall in behind. And then we'll roll the old chariot along, we'll roll the old chariot along, we'll roll the old chariot along, and we'll all fall in behind. Well, now a little bit of sun, it wouldn't do us any harm. A little bit of sun, it wouldn't do us any harm. A little bit of sun, it wouldn't do us any harm. And we'll all fall in behind. And then we'll roll the old chariot along, we'll roll the old chariot along, we'll roll the old chariot along, and we'll all fall in behind. Well, now a little bit of wind, it wouldn't do us any harm. A little bit of wind, it wouldn't do us any harm. A little bit of wind, it wouldn't do us any harm. And we'll all fall in behind. And then we'll roll the old chariot along, we'll roll chariot along, we'll roll the old chariot along, and we'll all fall in behind. Oh, now a little bit of love, it wouldn't do us any harm. A little bit of love, it wouldn't do us any harm. A little bit of love, it wouldn't do us any harm. And we'll all fall in behind. And then we'll roll the old chariot along, we'll roll chariot along, we'll roll the old chariot along, and we'll all fall in behind. Well, now a good fine cook wouldn't do us any harm. A good fine cook wouldn't do us any harm. A good fine cook wouldn't do us any harm. And we'll all fall in behind. And then we'll roll the old chariot along, we'll roll the old chariot along, we'll roll the old chariot along, and we'll all fall in behind. Well, now a little bit of chocolate wouldn't do us any harm. A little bit of chocolate wouldn't do us any harm. A little bit of chocolate wouldn't do us any harm. And we'll all fall in behind. And then we'll roll the old chariot along, we'll roll chariot along, we'll roll the old chariot along, and we'll all fall in behind. And then we'll roll chariot along, we'll roll chariot along, we'll roll the old chariot along, and we'll all fall in behind. Play! Here's to your singing. Well, a huge shout out to all of you Clearwater crew and educators. And of course to Toshi and to Pete, who blessed us all with so much amazing energy and wisdom. News came over the air tonight. Toshi Seeger went sailing today. Set out on the Hudson about 9 o'clock, searching for new songs to play. Passed by Bear Mountain, making great time as the water slapped hard on the bow. At Storm King he turned that boat into the wind, sent the old Woody G on the prow. Now he's high over the Hudson, sails headed for home. High on the breeze as it cuts through the trees, you're not sailing alone. You're high over the Hudson. You've got one hell of a view. Now your battles are won, a new journey's begun. People are singing with you. Of time and rivers flowing, the seasons make a song, and we who stand beside her, we'll try to sing along. Troubadour's life has its ups and its downs. Of that there's so much that's been said. He spoke out for justice year after year, a leader who actually led. He sang out for freedom, he sang out for peace, taught through the power of song. Ahead of his time in all seasons of life, he kept us all singing along. Now he's high over the Hudson, sails headed for home. Sing it with me, high on the breeze, high on the breeze, as it cuts through the trees. Keep you're not sailing alone. No, you're high over the Hudson. You still got one hell of a view. Now your battles are won, a new journey's begun. People are singing with you. Odetta and Mary say welcome, good friend. Woody and Faith both agree that you lived your passion for 94 years, and you lived it with integrity. Now we as your children and we as your friends must take up your mission of song. As Toshi yells out with a smile on her lips, "Hey Peter, what took you so long?" And now he's high over the Hudson, sails headed for home. High on the breeze as it cuts through the trees, you're not sailing alone. Now you're high over the Hudson. You still got one hell of a view. Your battles are won, your new journey's begun. People, we're singing with you. Join in and stand aside no longer. Now let the songs begin. Oh, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. Well, here's a song to all of those who made their way to freedom up the Hudson River. Some sailing on those Hudson River sloops. those who were escaping from bondage found safe passage on the river. And to Harriet Tubman, who came up the Hudson River many times, came into Albany and Troy, all those places. And, didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? Didn't my Lord? Didn't my Lord deliver Daniel? He was in the lion's den, sat with those three boys in the fiery furnace so they could get cool again. Sat with the people by the edge of the sea. It was with Jonah in the belly of the whale. Well, when my people heard those stories, they said, there ain't no way we're gonna fail, 'cause we're gonna wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Who were those children all are dressed in red? You say, God's gonna trouble the water. Must be the ones that Moses led. Say, God's gonna trouble the water. Well, who were those children all are dressed in white? They must be the ones getting ready to fly. God's gonna trouble the, sing it with me, say, wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble, gonna trouble, say, wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the, who are those children all are dressed in blue? God's gonna trouble the water. Must be the ones that made it through. God's gonna trouble the water. Well, who are those children all are dressed in black? Sing it. They never, 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 no, never, 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 no, never, no, never, no, never, no. They're not going back. They are walking to freedom. Walking to freedom. Body North Starlight, body North Starlight. They're walking to freedom. Well, if you don't think you can be set free, it's up to you and it's up to me. God's gonna trouble the water. Well, if you don't think you can be redeemed, hey, just follow me down to the Jordan stream. God's gonna trouble the so-do-ba-da-ba-do-ba. Wade in the water. Wade. God's gonna trouble the wade in the water. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Say, God's gonna trouble the God's gonna trouble. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Oh, it's been a pleasure to be part of this amazing gathering. 12 hours of music celebrating our dear, dear, dear Toshi Seeger. And I put up the donation site on the link. Yes, indeed. Oh, love you, love you. I'm going to go out of here with my song. You know, we have a lot to do this year. I don't care that we are sequestered, isolated, locked away, separated from each other. We are going to make a difference in this world, are we not? Yes, we are. I see from your hearts that you are. Let's make sure that we get the vote out. Let's make sure that we keep the issues up. Environmental issues. This nation is departing from work that we've been doing for over 50 years. So we need to change to an administration that will value our earth, value our water, and value our people. It's been great having this time with you. More music coming up. Title song from my Ready to Go CD. Says we can do it. Well, I've been sitting here thinking about the world today. Oh, glory, hallelujah. Got a lot on my mind, but I'm blessed to say, glory, hallelujah, I'm ready to go. We're all living in a world turned upside down. Oh, glory, hallelujah. Gonna take some time to turn it around. Glory, hallelujah, I'm ready to go. Got me singing with the seed you sowed up to me, so come what may. Glory, hallelujah, it's a righteous day. Glory, hallelujah, I'm on my way. Ba-da-da-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. We got a world of trouble and a world of pain. Oh, glory, hallelujah. They keep spinning the truth in freedom's name. Glory, hallelujah, I'm ready to go. When the haters pull up, I just sing my song. Oh, glory, hallelujah. Keep my mind on track, keeps my spirit strong. Glory, hallelujah, I'm ready to go. Oh, mama, it's a long, long road. You got me singing with the seed you sowed up to me, so come what may. Glory, hallelujah, it's a righteous day. Glory, hallelujah, I'm on my way. Sing da ba da da ba ba da ba ba da ba da da ba ba da ba da da ba ba da ba do ba 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 da ba ba da ba ba da ba do ba da da ba da ba do ba 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 da ba do ba ba. All by myself. Oh, glory, hallelujah. It's a long, hard journey, gonna need some help. Glory, hallelujah, I'm ready to go. Well, I'm sitting here thinking about the world today. Oh, glory, hallelujah. Got friends by my side, and I'm blessed to say, glory, hallelujah, I'm ready to go. Oh, mama, it's a long, long road. You got me singing with the seed you sowed up to me, so come what may. Glory, hallelujah, it's a righteous day. Glory, hallelujah, I'm on my way. Oh, 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 mama, it's a long, long road. You got me singing with the seed you sowed up to me, so come what may. Glory, hallelujah, it's a righteous day. Glory, hallelujah, I'm on my way. Sing it with me. Da 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 ba ba da da ba da ba do ba da da ba ba da ba do ba da ba ba da ba do ba 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 da da ba ba da da ba ba da ba do ba da da ba ba da ba Toshi Seeger, we love you. Clearwater, we love you. Don't forget to donate, and coming right up, there's more music. So stay tuned to the channel. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon, folks. Spook Handy here. On Mother's Day 2020, during the pandemic, the Trump pandemic, and we're celebrating two really important things today on Mother's Day. We're celebrating Toshi Seeger, the beloved wife, and as some people may say, the better half, or actually that's probably not good, the equal half, the other half of Pete Seeger. And we're celebrating the Clearwater, one of my favorite organizations in America, one that Pete helped to found, but of course Pete, being the genius that he was, didn't found it all by himself. He had a bunch of people helping. And it's my pleasure to be a part of this day-long tribute to Toshi Seeger on Mother's Day 2020. My name is Spook Handy. This is a special edition of Backstage with Spook Handy. And hey, I have a tendency to ramble too much. So if I talk too much, just somebody kick me in the shin here and I will slow it down. But I'm going to try to tell a couple of stories and keep them as short as possible. This is being multicast, so we're only going to have a few people from my Facebook friends watching, but we're going to have a whole bunch of people from throughout the country watching this multicast, simulcast. There you go. And thank you all you folks at Clearwater, one of my favorite organizations, doing seriously important work. And we're hoping that if anybody feels the urge or the desire or the love to help Clearwater financially in these very challenging times, not only challenging because of the economic problems that everybody's facing in this country, but challenging because of the environmental problems that we're all facing in this country. There's a link you should be able to find on my Facebook page that will tell you how you can make a donation. Toshi Seeger. Well, what did I know of Toshi Seeger? Well, you know, I met Pete Seeger in 2003, and I spent a decent amount of time with him. I performed alongside him more than 50 times. But I got to know Pete mostly from, interestingly enough, from being on stage or backstage or rehearsing. I've been to the house a bunch of times, but I never really got to know Toshi that well, except through the stories that I heard from Pete and from other folks. And so I'm going to share a little bit about my understanding of Toshi from the perspective of my understanding of Pete and his feeling. So I'm going to start off with a very short story. I'm going to keep it as short as I can. And it is the story that Pete told me a few times about Benjamin Franklin traveling up from Washington, D.C., up along the Hudson River, along a trail. Some people call it the Old Post Road. It may have gone so close to where Pete and Toshi lived on the top of Mount Beacon that it may have actually gone through their backyard. Who knows? But Ben Franklin would go all the way up to somewhere in the Albany area, and he would meet with the Haudenosaunee, who the French called the Iroquois nation. And so this idea of democracy came from many sources, largely from the Greeks, but the idea of how to make the democracy actually work, a lot of that came from the Haudenosaunee. And Benjamin Franklin learned something about the dignity of women's place in the government of that tribe. I would say two things about what I learned about Toshi from Pete. One is that Pete had a very strong respect for the dignity of women. And second was that Pete felt that Toshi was one of the shining stars of what a woman could be. In the Haudenosaunee tradition, some of the men would be on the council, and the council would make a decision. And the chief would then, after the decision was made through consensus, the chief would say, now go home and ask your wives. And if the wives said no, if enough of the wives said no, this is where the American government came up with the idea of the veto power. The women could say no. And so the men would not do what they were vetoed from doing, except on those rare circumstances. And when they did, ignore the veto of the women. Sometimes the women would form a strike. And the strike would be that the men were kicked out of the teepee. They had to sleep out in the cold. They weren't allowed back in until they changed their ways. Here's a song. And I'll just add one other thing too. When I very first met Pete, he told me to learn the old songs, to learn them the different ways they were sung by different groups of people, and to write new words, to keep them up to date, write new verses about the world we live in today, and write new songs that everybody can sing. So I'm going to be doing a shortened version of this song. It's called Letter to Eve, and I'm cutting out a bunch of the verses to keep it short, but I'm adding a verse that I wrote. It'll be the fourth verse. Letter to Eve. And I hope you'll hear why I told the story about the women's strike. Oh, Eve, where is Adam now that you're kicked out of the garden? Eve, where is Adam now you're kicked out of the garden? He's been wandering from shore to shore until he finds that there's no more. Oh, Pachmin Terrace, Mir Shanti, Salam Hewa. Pachmin Terrace, Mir Shanti, Salam Hewa. 5 different ways to say peace on earth in 5 different languages. Don't you wish love alone could save this world from disaster? Don't you wish love alone could save this world from disaster? Don't you wish love could end the confusion? Or is it just one more illusion? Oh, Pachmin Terrace, Mir Shanti, Salam Hewa. Oh, Eve, you tell Adam we've got to build a new garden. Eve, go tell Adam we've got to build a new garden. It's a time for us to get a building, a better home for all of God's children. Oh, Pachmin Terrace, Mir Shanti, Salam Hewa. We gotta build it in the name of love, if we're gonna build it at all. We gotta do it in the name of love, if we're gonna do it at all. Or else the house we're creating will be standing on a faulty foundation. Oh, Pachmin Terrace, Mir Shanti, Salam Hewa. Next time he asks you, Eve, tell Adam, the next time he asks you, he'll say, baby, it's cold outside. What's the password to come inside? You tell him, oh, Pachmin Terrace, Mir Shanti, Salam Hewa. Letter to Eve. Fantastic song. I'm going to get out my 6th string. So, folks, I am rambling too long, and I'm already taking a lot of time up. So I'm going to try to tell this story as short as I can. The shortest version of this is that there are a lot of really good banjo players that play Pete Seeger songs. And I play the banjo too, but I'm not a really good banjo player. And I really only know one song on the banjo, and that is the song Quite Early Morning. But I didn't learn how to play that until after Pete left this mortal plane. But I used to play that with Pete, and I used to play the guitar. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to play the guitar the way that I used to play it behind Pete as a backup. I'll sing it, but I'll play the kind of way I played it as a backup. I'll play the lead, but then I'll play the rhythm the kind of way I did as a backup and with fills. Quite early morning. It's darkest before the dawn. It's this thought keeps me moving on. If we could heed these early warnings, the time is now quite early morning. If we could heed these early warnings, time is now quite early morning. Some say that humankind won't long endure, but what makes them feel so doggone sure? I know that you who hear my singing can make those freedom bells go ringing. I know that you who hear my singing, can make those freedom bells go ringing. Make those freedom bells go ringing. And so we keep on while we live, until we have no more to give. And when these fingers can strum no longer, hand the old banjo to young ones stronger. When these fingers can strum no longer, hand the old banjo to young ones stronger. And then Pete would play a lead and I would play just a simple backup. And then I play. Don't you know it's darkest before the dawn? It's this thought keeps me moving on through all this world of joy and sorrow. We still can have singing tomorrow through all this world of joy and sorrow. We still can have singing tomorrow through all this world of joy and sorrow. We still can have singing tomorrow. Quite early morning. One of the things I learned about Toshi that Pete really appreciated, and I can see this in my own life. You know, there's this balance between intellectual, logical intelligence and creativity, and both Pete and Toshi had both of those. and they would balance each other out and add to each other. And one of the stories that I think is so fascinating for anybody involved in any kind of organization, Pete told this story so many times, that when he, and to make this as short as possible, he was hoping to form an organization which eventually became Clearwater. An organization to get people together to clean the Hudson River. And maybe it's more accurate to say to build a boat. The sloop Clearwater, which could be used to raise funds and to raise awareness, and in a very non-political way, take people out on the boat for a sail, let them see the majesty of the Hudson River. And without ever saying anything about politics or policy, people would automatically become environmentalists because they'd be captured by the beauty of the experience. And so Pete called this meeting, and if I remember correctly, he said 6 people came to the meeting. And he was a little bit upset that all up and down the Hudson Valley, only 6 people came to the meeting. And he went home and he told Toshi, he said, "Toshi, only 6 people came to the meeting." And Toshi said, "Meeting? Why did you call it a meeting? You got to make it a potluck and a sing." And so this whole idea of sharing music and sharing food is one of the great ways of building community. And I talked to Pete about this quite a bit, and I said to him, I said, "Pete, you know, a friend of mine told me there's actually 4 things that build community: singing along together, and eating together, sharing food, especially potlucks where people make their own food and bring it to share. A third thing is working together." And you certainly did have that, and do have that, in the Clearwater organization, where people are working together to not only keep the boat in shape, but to raise awareness of the work, the really important, wonderful work that Clearwater is doing. And the 4th thing is fire. Fire. Back when we were cave dwellers, we gathered around the fire. Maybe even before we even learned to make instruments, we would gather around the fire for safety and for comfort. And this memory is deeply embedded in the limbic cortex, the reptilian part of our brain. So we have vigils and we have candles, and we think about grandma, we think about sitting around the fireplace. And we always had a fire going at the Sloop Club in the winter. And I've seen Rick Polari do a documentary on the Hudson River sloop singers, and Pete said, "Let's build a fire, and I'll sit next to the fire, and we'll talk about the fire." So here's a song. It's one of the last songs that Pete wrote. He actually co-wrote this with Lori Wyatt, and it was on the very last album of songs that Pete put out called A More Perfect Union. I actually recorded it myself on my album, Songs of Pete, Woody, and Me, Volume 1, Keep the Flame Alive. And the song is called Keep the Flame Alive. And I'm proud to say that I've tried so many times to take a really good song and do something unique and special with it. And most of the times I haven't been that successful. But I think I got something with this one. This is my own version. Keep the flame alive. When the bully winds of winter are blowing all around, some will stand and shiver, some will flee the town. It's wise to get prepared now if we are to survive. Chop the wood, build a fire, and keep the flame alive. Keep the flame alive. Keep the flame alive. Together we will tend the fire and keep the flame alive. With a sledgehammer and a wedge, a splitting axe and maul, we'll have all the logs we need, cut and stacked by fall. But careful, choose the wood to use before you swing a stroke. The elm you skip, it's a devil to split. Use maple ash and oak, keep the flame alive. Keep the flame alive. Together we will tend the fire and keep the flame alive. Keep the flame alive. Keep the flame alive. Together we will tend the fire and keep the flame alive. In the cruelest season, should the wood run low, buried in the ashes, coals are still aglow. But if we tend the embers, the fire will revive. Keep the coals, tossing sticks, and keep the flame alive. Keep the flame alive. Keep the flame alive. Flame alive, keep the flame alive. Together we will tend the fire and keep the flame alive. Keep the flame alive. Keep the flame alive. You know, there's this picture right here, actually. I'm just thinking about this right now. One of the amazing things about Pete's appreciation of the dignity of women is he has told stories where he says that boys have a tendency to go whack. And that tendency to go whack can be used in a positive way. Here's a picture of Pete with a sledgehammer and a wedge, chopping wood. Yeah. And so we can do good things with that tendency to go whack, but you know, boys can hurt people by going whack. And that's how we get involved in wars. Women have a tendency to promote harmony and peace. And if women bring that out into the forefront, they're the ones who, I'm actually like wondering if I'm getting a message here. Nope, sorry, okay. So if women bring out that best attribute of themselves to be promoters of harmony and peace, they can help save the world. Pete recognized that. I even think that's in Where Have All the Flowers Gone? Beautiful. But I'm going to do one more song here, and thank you folks for coming and listening to me. My name is Spook Handy, and this is a special edition of Backstage with Spook Handy. But more so, this is a special concert for Mother's Day, a tribute to Toshi Seeger, Pete's wife of almost 70 years. Almost 70 years. And also a fundraiser for the Clearwater organization. There should be links, if I did this right, there should be links there that you can see if you're interested in making a contribution to help keep the boat afloat. The flame, keep the flame alive. You know, let's see, I have 5 minutes, so I'll tell this as short as I can. Pete told me once that there was an event. He doesn't remember when. Oh, maybe 30 years ago. Maybe 40 years ago. He doesn't remember where. He doesn't remember who came or what the event was about. But he remembers that Toshi made supper for everybody. And right before supper, there was a candle on everybody's table. And he lit the candles and he turned out the lights and they sat there for 60 seconds in silence with the room only lit up by the candles. And people would come up to him and say, Pete, when was that? I don't remember when that was. And Pete said, I don't remember either. But everybody remembered the flame. So keep the flame alive. One of the ways to keep the flame alive is to write new songs. And as Pete, part of the genius of his work was that he recognized good work that went before him. Waist Deep in the River Jordan, an old gospel song, which he adapted in such a genius way. Well, I heard this wonderful song once that Pete wrote called If I Had a Hammer. And I was wondering if today there's a chance that we could lose that hammer. And I don't think we can lose the hammer because we are the hammer. And that bell of freedom is in our hearts. And we will always have a song to sing. A song of love between all of our brothers and all of our sisters, regardless of the color of their skin, the shape of their eyes, the language they speak, who they love, or how they identify. We will always have a song to sing. If this sounds a little bit like If I Had a Hammer, thank you. Justice, defy democracy, gag the press, make arrests, I would still be free. 'Cause the bell of freedom in my heart will always have a place to ring. And we'll always, always, always have a song to sing. Always, always, always have a song to sing. Always, always, always have a song to sing. The bell of freedom in my heart will always have a place to ring. And we'll always, always, always have a song to sing. Now, some may fight among us, ask who here is to blame. Some will cry and wonder why, but let's not play that game. There's a voice inside of each of us, can you hear it call our names? It's saying we'll always, always, always have a song to sing. Always, always, always have a song to sing. Always, always, always have a song to sing. You know the bell of freedom in my heart will always have a place to ring. And we'll always, always, always have a song to sing. This darkest hour, there is no time to hide. So let's stoke our inner fires and keep the flame alive. If we raise our voices up as one, we will not be denied. And we will always, always, always have a song to sing. Help me sing it, everybody. always, always, always have a song to sing. Can you sing that again? Always, always, always have a song to sing. The bell of freedom in my heart will always have a place to ring. The bell of freedom in my heart will always have a place to ring. And we'll always, always, always have a song to sing. I got this last one. Yes, we'll always, always, always have a song to sing. Hey, this was a lot of fun, folks. We're on the clock here, and I think I'm pretty close to finishing on time. 4 songs in 30 minutes. That's like the most I've ever done. This is amazing. Wow. You know, you just get one little guy like Fred Gillen Jr. He's got such strong, positive, uplifting energy, and he gets you, he asks you to do a favor, and you can't turn him down. He's just like that. Fred Gillen Jr. Thank you, and thanks everybody from the Clearwater organization. Thank Toshi, thank Pete, thank Tina, and Katama. Now, I think what's going to happen now is, if I'm not already turned off, I'll be off in a minute. I'll be done in a minute, because what's happening next is we're going to have some speakers talk about Toshi, and I think that one of them is going to be Katama, one of Toshi's grandchildren. And, well, that's about it. Thank you so much. Spook Handy, my website is spookhandy.com. I love you all, and good night.